From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production, the NFL Bet Exchange, hosted by my man, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and it is time for the NFL Bet Exchange. You know who I got to the right of me, who's chilling. He's literally chilling right now over in his beautiful office. None other than the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. How you doing, sir?
Happy, merry, belated Christmas to all. We survived another holiday. Blessed and honored as always to be here, being a part of the NFL Bet Exchange. You and I are the OGs of social media. If you don't believe us, go look at our timelines. And just glad that we're here. Another week in the books as we get closer. I can't believe it's week 17 already. The playoff, how should I say it, board is basically coming in. Can't get rid of those old men called Brady and Rodgers now, looking like they're going to try to stick and stay. Hats off to Trevor Lawrence. Hats off to the Lions. They're still hanging around. And my locals, Mac Jones. We're getting ready to go golfing, Pops.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that more in a minute because Patriots, I don't know, man. Bill Belichick I feel like he has something up the sleeve, but we've been saying that shit. We've been saying that since Tom left, and ain't nothing up the sleeve like that too much. But we'll see. We will see. All right, let's go ahead and look at what we are supposed to be looking at right now, and pretty much what we have here, Mr. Dawson, is you are up this week. You went 9-6-1 last week. I had an awful week, 5-10-1 for myself. 108.97.5 for the year. Jeff is 112.91.5 for the year. He's found himself back in on the leaders board, and 2 weeks left to go. And it looks like whoever's telling Jeff is feeling good, feeling great because they had themselves a beautiful, beautiful week. But Jeff's had a great winter, though.
Listen, you're still 9 games over 500. That's all that matters at the end of the year. It's like this. If we were running the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness, I'd be the winner. Unfortunately, we're still at the Belmont. We haven't hit the final turn, so you still got 2 weeks to come down the stretch and come past me, Pops.
Well, it's all about getting them the winners, man. Because at the end of the day, it means something to us, but it means more to us when we see that the people that are actually watching the show can go ahead and cash that out as well too. Yes,
100%.
Sir. Yes, sir. All right, first game, Cowboys visit the Titans, and the Titans are an absolute wreck right now, Jeff. I truly do think that this team really has ran into what a lot of teams run into during seasons. You get out the gate, you're playing great football out the gate, you're playing great, you're looking good. It's the same usual situation that you got going on. You're dominating the weakest conference in the NFL. You're just going about your business. You got your tough, gritty coach, Mike Vrabel. You got your what do I want to say, Jeff? Your rogue quarterback that you felt was the man, even though in a little bit of a sense you had yourself a decent quarterback in Mariota, but you said he wasn't good enough. So now you're kind of stuck with the guy that got thrown away in Miami as well. So I just don't really get the Titans thinking and where they're on. Oh, yeah, their thinking is Derrick Henry, and some more Derrick Henry. And then, pretty much – when you fire the general manager mid-losing streak, yeah, it's pretty bad there internally. You know what I mean? And knowing how Vrabel acts, yeah, I'm not surprised about anything that's going on in Tennessee anymore. You know what I mean? So this team is either looking to get to the playoffs and get out of the playoffs as quick as possible, or they're looking to just go ahead and just blow the season. And from what it's looking like right now, Jacksonville is in key, and they're playing their best football. We'll talk about that when we get to Jacksonville. But Tennessee is just a real it's a question mark. Like, are they going to show up this week? But they've played tough in every single one of these games. It's not like they really went in there and just got blown away. So that's where you say, okay, you can't necessarily discount them. But from what I'm hearing, we may not have Derrick Henry playing. And that right there is just going to make them juice up the Cowboys more and more. And I just say to myself that the Cowboys are the type of team at this point in the season. Can you trust them with a big spread? In reality, no, you can't. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to take the Titans with the plus 9.5. Jeff, your thoughts?
I'm looking at an under-over around 41 in my mind. I got that 27-13 vibe. In comes Malik Willis, who I liked the draft when they drafted him. If I am a GM and owner now of the Titans, I'm like, okay, obviously he's not ready for the NFL. It would have been a great year for him just to hold that clipboard. But, of course, in today's game, you get thrown into the wolves. A defense that is going to be on him like white on rice, as I like to say once in a while, Pops. I feel for him. But if they don't contain the lanes, he could have a big running day. The uncertainty of Henry. We've been saying now for weeks, Dallas is probably going to have to travel to the Bucs for their first playoff game. I laid the 9.5. Like I says, I see 27-13 all day, 27-14. If, and it's a big if, the Titans can get to 17 or more, they have a real good chance to cover this, but I don't see it, Pops. I think short week defense travels. I think Dallas rolls here.
All right. I like that thinking as well, too, because Dallas is in key right now, and Dallas is okay. All right. Somebody's asking me about an under right now, Jeff. Sorry about that. Yeah, because I put out the tickets this morning for the what bowl is it? The Camellia Bowl. Yeah. So Camellia Bowl. I like Georgia Southern in that one today.
Yeah, well, they get 2 first and goals from the 10, and they kick 2 field goals. I think that's 2 more field goals than they've kicked all year. They usually get in the red zone and their touchdowns all day. 7-6 right before the half, Buffalo driving.
All right. Well, one thing about that team is that I talked about it on my show yesterday. That team was 4-6 as an underdog this year.
Who's that?
That's Georgia Southern. They were underdog 10 times, and in the 2 times they were a favorite, they won. So they went 6-6 on the year. So I'm just saying to myself, if you're a bettor and you're betting money line, and say you're a big Georgia Southern fan, and you say to yourself, every week I'll bet the money line, because they were never a big number when they were a favorite either. That's a nice little score when you get 4 wins out of 10. That's a 40% clip right there. And then you add in the 2 favorites, that's 50. You went 50%, but your money has really went into those 4 wins as the favorite. Even though you lost 6 games, you only lost the risk. You didn't lose the juice. So those are profitable teams, Jeff. That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? And that's why people need to not always think that a dog is not going to be trustworthy. I say a dog is more trustworthy than a favorite in certain situations, man. It truly is, because you're really gambling when you do that. When you take the favorite, it's almost like you're taking the easy way out,
No, I agree.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into Cardinals, Falcons. And let me fix that, because that's not even fair to do that. 5-4. We're having Falcons. You guys took the season. You guys got a 2-month break. Falcons, absolutely dreadful right now, Jeff. They have lost Mariota for the season. Pretty much lost him for pretty much just lost him in general. But you got this Cardinals team coming in here. They don't have Kyler Murray either, so we know that this matchup is just not going the way it's supposed to go. Ever since the bye, Arizona has lost all 3 games, but they had lost 2 in a row before that as well, too. Last time they won was on November 13th versus the Rams. And so pretty much this team, since that point, they went 1-7, Jeff. And They just haven't had a good season at all. It's just been a bad year for this team. And I know that they're just ready for this whole thing to be over. Then you look at how bad Atlanta's been. Atlanta's lost 2 in a row after coming out the bye week 14, but they had lost 2 in a row before that. And the last time they won was a game against Chicago where they really had to work for that win. And so they're 1-6 since at the point that they were, what was it, Jeff? I think they were 4-4 at one point.
They were
And
6-0 to start the year against the spread.
right. And you know how bad they are against the spread right now? They're actually, I think they're 7-8 to if I'm not, what you got, or 7-7. That's bad. You know what I mean? You lost a lot of people money this year. Now, this is a battle of the backups, and I was very confident in Ritter moving forward for the Falcons, but he's not an NFL starter in my opinion. I think that he can be a really good backup, but I think he does need a little bit more time to prove himself as well too, and probably a better offensive scheme as well too. I know that this team is doing a lot of running and things of that nature, but they have some guys here that are good, like Algieri, who's not getting a lot of a lot of mainstream media talk. He's a big player for fantasy guys right now because he actually is leading that team in rushing, and that's a pretty strong look. And Drake London is looking very good for the future as well too. So there's a lot of things that you say to yourself about Atlanta that could be okay moving forward. But right now, this team didn't really expect to win anything. But I truly do feel like what happens here is I can trust. Hopefully, they let Colt McCoy play this game, Jeff. But I can trust the Falcons. I mean, the Cardinals here because the Falcons they don't do anything, Jeff. They don't cover. They don't. This is the type of game where they'll lose. You know what I mean? And I think they can be overbet, and I just can't do it, Jeff. That's why I'm taking the Cardinals with the +3.5. And I know both these teams really don't care to play for these coaches anymore either.
Breaking news earlier today: J.J. Watt is retiring at the end of the year. He's had an amazing career, and he goes over to Arizona for 1 year. Kyler Murray, the coach, Kingsbury. The list is endless. The shit show going on there. Played tough though against Tom and the Bucks this past weekend. I like the home cooking here. I love what you talked about in Algier. I was talking to some of my fantasy guys about him. He runs hard. He hits the hole and goes. I like what I see for fantasy purposes. If you can get Patterson out of the mix next year, I think Algier is someone you definitely want to target in the middle rounds. But for this game, we bought the hook. We took the Falcons -3. I expect a pretty decent game here, Pops. I expect the game to go back and forth. A little fun here. I'm checking up your total as we speak right now. And I see a 41. So about 24-20, Pops. That's my final.
24-20. Okay. And Jeff likes the Falcons here. He likes the Falcons. So
just on a smidge.
He's riding, but see, I understand why you're riding Ritter because they played. Look, if he could have been better at quarterback, they actually blow out the Ravens. The game was actually they dominated the game offensively. I know because I had the Ravens defense and we only scored 7 points and they only gave up 9 points. Jeff, so if that team could have figured out a way to score some actual points, they would have won the game easily. When you're in the red zone 6 times and you come away with 9 points, yeah, we have a real issue on the offensive end. You know what I mean? And it's not – I don't know. I don't like to put things on the coaches, but that one was on the coaches because the coaches weren't recognizing anything. And I was just befuddled because it wasn't like Baltimore was playing a crazy tight, great defense. Baltimore was literally like, go ahead and do what you want to do. We'll get you 5 yards out of the end zone, and then we'll stop you. That won't work this week against the Steelers. They're going to have to play. But we all know the Steelers were not going to lose that game because as soon as Franco died, you should have just already marked it down as a Raider loss. You knew what was going to happen. I don't like to say it's a conspiracy, but we know how the football gods work. And when legends pass, that their team, it doesn't matter if their team came in the game 0-14, they're not going to lose. It's not going to happen. Angels in the outfield must have been real. All right, so we got the Bears 3-12. Awful, Jeff. Awful. This team was 2-1 at one point this season. 2-1, Jeff. 2-1. That's how funny the NFL is. You first 4 weeks of the season, you could be, oh my God, this team has potential. And then we come back 10 weeks later, and it's just like, well, when's the season gonna be over? And that's the type of year that the Bears have had. The Bears have not won since October, Jeff. Since late October. And they shocked us all that night, too, by beating the Patriots. We all thought the Patriots were over with, to be honest with you. Now, the Bears are in a situation where they have came to be a specialist somewhat. How many times do we get a bad Bears team in late December, early January, and they are playing against a team in their division that's shooting for the playoffs? And the game winds up being in Chicago. This is kind of eerie, similar to a lot of Vikings scenarios at the end of the year. And them having to go to Chicago and get a must-win situation. The Lions in a must-win situation is a little dangerous, Jeff. And it is at the end of the day. But what works out for the Lions is they're at home. But Lions at home means absolutely nothing as well, too. You know what I mean? Because the Lions are a very, very funny team. Last week showed us that. But the Lions had no shot once you saw that 85% of the action went on them. There was no shot for the Lions, dude. And I truly do feel like what we do here is we just make this real easy on ourselves, Jeff, because we know that this is going to be a really good game. They're playing in the Dome as well, too. So this works out very well for Mr. Fields, you know what I mean? Because they're not playing in the elements. And it seems like when he plays indoors, he's a whole different animal. So I like the Bears with the plus 5.5. I damn near say the Bears win this game too, Jeff, because they're just due. They've lost 8 in a row, and teams that are on these long losing streaks, basketball or NFL, are super dangerous. In NBA last week, we had 3 teams that were on streaks that were probably more than 7 games or so. They all got big wins. It was consecutive days too. That's what the craziest part about it was. But I'm taking the Bears plus 5.5, Jeff.
I was listening this morning to a couple of people, and they talked about third-year quarterbacks that's when they get them their wide receivers. Last year, Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown. There's 2 wide receivers that will be available. D-Hop and Jerry Jeudy was the 2 that they talked about. And they were talking about the Patriots, Pops, and the potential of the Patriots bringing Bill O'Brien back. And if they did, obviously, then they wouldn't get third-year quarterback Mac Jones, D-Hop, because Bill O'Brien traded D-Hop when he was at Houston. So my point here is next year, O-line, a D-Hop or a Jerry Jeudy, how much better Justin would look. I like them on a fast track. I like them in the Dome. I think this will be an up-and-down affair. Who has the ball last will probably win this game. We bought the hook. We got the Bears plus 6. I, too, think is like you do. If they can win the turnover battle, that's a big if, I think that Chicago has a great chance to cover, if not win. But we took them plus the 6, Pops.
All right. So Jeff is on. We are on the Bears together. We are looking for another great NFC North game, and this one is a game, and you just can't trust Detroit with a 6-point spread. I'm sorry. It's just that's way too many points for Detroit. It's just way too much. You know what I mean? Like, I know they're playing good football, but still, it's the Lions at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And if anybody knows how to mess this thing up, it'll be them. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the Broncos and the Chiefs. This was they had this idea that this was going to be a really, really good game, right? That this was going to be a good matchup at this point of the year because they had this idea that the Broncos would be right there neck and neck with the Chiefs. You know what I mean? And that the AFC West would be the toughest division in football. And possibly the NFC West would be very tough as well, too. But we knew that the NFC West was never going to be more than just the 49ers. And we kind of figured out very early on that this division was still the Chiefs until said otherwise. You know what I mean? So pretty much the Chiefs have been rolling all season. They really haven't been tested, in my opinion, but they've lost the games that they were supposed to lose, Jeff. You know what I mean? Like you lost to the Bills. That was a loss that you kind of saw coming from a mile a little bit because the way that the game was put together. And you know that the Bills had that big chip on their shoulder. And the way the NFL works is every time you lose a big playoff game the year before, you come into that next game against that team that beat you and you whoop them. You beat them. You know what I mean? It's common knowledge. It doesn't matter if it's on the road or at home, you're going to beat them. All right. Then the Chiefs play the team that beat them in the playoffs last year, and they get beat again. And they didn't get beat by a lot, but then once again, they got outsmarted again. You know what I mean? And that's what's killing you about the Chiefs is that how can they get outsmarted if they're so smart? You know what I mean? And I truly do feel that the Chiefs do too much cruise control. And that's what the biggest problem is. They do exactly what Andy Reid's Eagles used to do. You ball out, you kill it, you crushing it, and then you start going on cruise control, and then the little wrinkles and the little cracks in the armor start showing a little bit. But this might be the best team I've seen the Chiefs have overall in the Patrick Mahomes era, where they got a really good defense to back him up, and then they got a array of weapons on the offensive side. I used to say for years it was only Hill and Kelsey. Now they got a lot of people that he can throw the ball to. And that's what makes the Chiefs very, very easy to pick in any game this season. But in this one especially, I don't see them messing this one up like they did in Denver a few weeks back. That was more of a prove it game for Russ, in a sense, in my opinion. I think what happens here, they've already pretty much packed it up for the rest of the year. I think that possibly the Broncos will be running with the C squad this week. So, yeah, they'll probably just put the taxi squad guys out there this week to keep it real with you. You know what I mean? So I like just be simple here. I like the Chiefs by 2 touchdowns today. I usually would take the Broncos in this situation, but they fired the coach. They fired half the staff, and they don't even know who they're starting at quarterback on Sunday. So I'm good.
Embarrassing was saying it lightly what I watched on Christmas Day. I think it was, the Rams put up a 50 burger. Baker Mayfield looks like he's, running around trying to throw, steaks into the center, the 50-yard line after beating, Ohio State. Comical, 17-0, blink of an eye. Russ getting sacked, and his own players aren't picking him up. There's so much going on behind the scenes there. They fire Hackett. Earlier this week, Sean Payton is now putting together his squad. Maybe they're trying to get ahead of it, but I don't think Denver will be the first place Sean Payton looks to go to. But that's for another show. We bought the hook. We took Mahomes minus 13. This team does not cover at home. We're just hoping that Denver, lays another egg. Mahomes gets there 27 in the first half. Defense plays well. I'm looking at an under-over right now, Pops, of, where are they here? 45 right now. So we'll go, we're going to go 30-13 Chiefs, Pops.
All right, I like it. And you know what? I know we tripping a little bit here too, Jeff, because a team that gets beat 51-14 is usually a lot better the next week. Even it doesn't matter what circumstances they're going through. It's a pride thing that kicks in. But I don't even think this Denver team has pride anymore, to be honest with you, Jeff.
No, they're done. They're already worried about, OTAs next year. They're all done.
Right. And some of these guys need to worry about their NFL lives too, because they might not, because it could be over as well too. You know, when you play on bad teams in the NFL, 30% of you guys will never be in the league again. Just know that 30-40% of you guys. It's just the numbers, and it's just reality of the situation. You know what I mean? So it's time to get ready to call up your college coach, see if he has a spot available for you to, you know, wear a headset and, you know, yell and scream at people for the next 40 years. That's how it usually goes, right, Jeff? And then they all tell the same stupid story. Well, you know, if it just didn't happen like this, or you could be like our boy on ESPN, be up there bragging about being a special teams guy. Like, who are you, Lewis Riddick? Who you played for the? I'm a Raiders and Browns fan. I never even heard of you till you was on ESPN. And I used to know both those rosters by the back of my damn hand back in the 90s and stuff. You know, that just cracks me up. But we're going to take a break. We're going to be right back. And when we do get back, we're going to talk some more football. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, which is going to be the Dolphins and the Patriots. You got a Dolphins team coming in here 8-7. You got the Patriots coming in here 7-8. This might be, honestly, Jeff, this is one of the, I would say, you know, in my lifetime, probably in my 38 years or so, this is one of the better rivalries in the NFL that doesn't get talked about enough. You know what I mean? It's crazy with this game because it's two different elements. You got the Dolphins, who are always in warm weather, always, you know, party up and, you know, feel free living life. Then you got the Patriots up north, cold, angry. They just and then, but if they win, though, they're gonna let you hear about it. Same thing goes with Miami as well too. I've seen Patriots and Dolphins fans literally really get down, like fist fight, troll, all that good stuff. But you always felt that in the NFC East, the Jets and Bills kind of were like poodles to the Patriots. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the Patriots can come in there and just slap them up and do whatever they want. You know what I mean? But it seemed like the Dolphins always had this thing in the back of their head that, you know, we went undefeated one season, right? They're just that kid at the end. It's like they're on a block, and the Patriots was able to beat up on the other two. But it's always this pesky little Dolphins group that always feels like they're somewhat better than us because they went undefeated for a whole season. Even though they had some really bad years during the Tom Bill run, they still figured out ways to get monster wins over the Patriots. So this game is always going to be a game that sticks out in my head anytime they play. Opening portion of the season, Miami absolutely trashed them. You know what I mean? Miami, it was that game was not even close. So we go into this week's game, and we have a Patriots team that's looking to try to stay in the playoffs, but you have a coordinator that does not get along with his offensive coordinator at all. And then you have a head coach who really doesn't know if he wants to still be here. I don't know what they're saying in New England, but Bill is giving me that vibe that he doesn't really care no more. You know what I mean? Like after what happened in Vegas, I know he's like, this might be too much for me. So let's just start. Let's talk about Miami real quick. I feel like Miami is doing exactly what I knew that they were going to do at some point because I never was that convinced with their coach. You feel me, Jeff? I just always felt like the coach was he's a good he's a good student of the game, but he's not a leader of men. And you could easily tell. You can't have a coach goofing so hard. You know what I mean? And I know that everybody wants to have this cool, chill vibe, BS and all that, but you have to be a real strict person when you're leading men. You can be cool, but you gotta be a little strict too. And I always feel like their coach is like the substitute teacher that they let that's teaching your class for the whole year. And everybody's cool because he done gave everybody A's. You know what I mean? And then once some controversy comes, does he know how can he adjust to it? He doesn't know how to adjust to it because he doesn't have that much experience as a coach. It's that simple. Yeah, he was a coach for 8 years in the NFL, but still, there's guys that spent 20 years before they were head coaches in the NFL, Jeff. And I feel like if you don't do your 10 years, you're not ready to be a head coach. You just can't throw these guys into the fire after 4 years of being an assistant. You're not taking on the same responsibility as a head coach. And last thing I'm going to say before I reveal my pick, I think that these former players need to kind of shut up about Tua because at the end of the day, you're just kind of trying to bring a black cloud over the league that the people that pay you guys don't want you to do. You just want to look cool on Twitter. You know what I mean? And look like you care. No, this is football. Guys get hurt. Guys are all going to be broken when they're done with this sport. It does not matter. You're going to get broke because you've committed your life to this game. It's that simple. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and they're going to get one more chance this week, Jeff, because I feel like they deserve it. And I think that they'll limp into the playoffs, believe it or not, because they've won enough games against the AFC this year to where they're really not that much in trouble. They really just need one more win in there in the playoffs. So I'm taking the Dolphins with the plus 110.
This is I have two sides to this story. This is what I don't want to happen is that the Pats control their own destiny. They win this week and then they win the last game of the year at Buffalo. They're in the playoffs. Now, here's the funny. If the Bills happen to clinch the 1 seed, they're probably going to rest everyone. So it would almost be comical and almost poetic justice for the Pats to go into Buffalo, no Josh Allen, no Steph Diggs, no this, that, the other thing, with an opportunity to go to the playoffs and get smacked. Because last year, the last 2 games of the year, they played Buffalo, the last regular season game and the playoff game, and Buffalo didn't have to punt in either one of those games. This Patriot team is awful. Just end it now, end your misery. They're going to get fortunate this week because Teddy Bridgewater will be quarterbacking for the Miami Dolphins. I don't know what's going on the following week, but the number went from the Dolphins -2 to the Pats -2.5. I took the Pats money line. Why? I don't know. Teddy came in as a backup before via the Saints, won 4, 5, 6 games in a row. He doesn't make mistakes. And so I hope for my sake the Dolphins come in and run the Patriots out of the building. It's zappy time by halftime. But we took the Pats minus the 130 pops.
All right. I like it. All right, Giants Colts, Jeff. And you know what? The Giants in a loss still were able to keep your confidence because that team is really the Rocky of the NFL this year, where you think that they're beat, they're done, and here we go. Cue up the music, right, Jeff? Every week it seems like with the Giants. Cue up the music. You know what I mean? Because this team gets knocked on the mat, they get right back up. There hasn't been a game this year where the Giants weren't in that game. Like that's what makes the ball really, really good coach. You know what I mean? Is that they keep talking about this guy should be coach of the year, this guy should be coach of the year. If we do that, what we'll probably do is I'll probably ask you too, Jeff. We'll do our end of the year awards because we don't have a vote like the writers, but I think that we got a good idea of what we see, right? So if I would give anybody coach of the year, it's Brian DeBall, because you did not have expectations for the Giants. You did not. Your expectations were that Saquon Barkley was going to have a big season. You know what I mean? 1,200, 1,300 yards, be the talk of the offense, but they will win 3 or 4 games, right? Because Daniel Jones is that bad. But Daniel Jones is really not even that bad. He's just kind of what the new NFL is that you have 5 really, really exceptional quarterbacks, and then you have the rest of the league. You know what I mean? Where everybody's a little bit above average or very average. So my thing is like this. You look at this game, the Colts have pretty much shipped it in for the year. But I know you're going to laugh at me when I say this, Jeff, but I would think that they give Saturday another shot. Yes, this team is only have only went 1-8 since they started the year off 3-2-1, but still, I think that they're going to give Saturday a shot, to have a full off season, a staff of his own, and then they'll go ahead and move on. But they're right where they want to be at, right, Jeff? If they're thinking about drafting a quarterback at this point, but they don't have a quarterback in this draft that is a Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck. And I would say this, the best quarterback I've seen is Sam Hartman.
I saw today he's transferring.
Yeah, and that's great. I'm telling myself, Sam, get your butt to the NFL draft already. What is wrong with you? You're the best quarterback in the nation. He can make every throw, and the way that he handles the game is exactly how you're supposed to do it in the NFL. That kid is going to be special. He is. He truly is. This is an easy call, but this spread is nasty, though, Jeff. The spread is telling you that the Giants can't be trusted. It really is. It's telling you that you're going to overspend and you're going to pay the 170 to 180 on the money line with them. Because when you get beat the way that the Colts got beat the last 2 weeks, everybody named Mama is going to say, I'm taking the Giants this week. Oh, Giants are my play of the week. Giants are the bet of the year. Jeff, you know it's coming. Play of the year. We're at that point right now. Play of the year. I miss them days where we used to see play of the year. Bro, it's only February. How is it already the play of the year? And then it would be something so simple, too, like a minus 120 college basketball game. What? Oh, adventures in handicapping and sports capping, dude. What's called the stories me and Jeff could tell, man. We've came a long way.
Yes, we have.
But it's easy, Jeff. I don't have to talk much about this. I'm kind of losing breath talking about this one. It's an easy damn pick. It's the Giants, okay? The Giants should absolutely trounce these guys. But one thing I am going to say is Saquon Barkley, I know that the NFL will not give this to him, but he's my MVP for this year because when you come up that clutch at that moment of the game, come on, man. You got to hand that guy the MVP trophy, Jeff. Don't you think? Like, seriously. Guys quarterbacks are great, but, man, when you got a great running back, it's different, man.
Well, if you're going to give it to Saquon, you should then make it and give the other half to Justin Jefferson.
Right, yeah, Justin's awesome, too.
I bought the hook, took the Giants -3. The only thing in the back of my mind, and he looked ugly yesterday, last night, was Nick Foles, coming in, ruining the Giants' year again, coming in there. But they should let the Ellinger play the last 2 games of the year. I mean, they've gone through 10,000 quarterbacks. What's one more? Give him a couple more games to see what he's got. The line is begging you to take the Giants. I had a 5 with a 39. It's up to 5.5. This game will be 6.5 by kickoff. Buy it now. We bought the hook pop. We got the Giants -3.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, and we'll be quick here because even though this is a game that is a good game to talk about, Eagles, Saints. This is a good one, Jeff, because you have a Saints team that's 6-9 coming in here. Eagles are 13-2. I think this game right here will be the final win of the season for the Eagles, to be honest with you, Jeff. I think that the Eagles, Minshew played a hell of a game last week. And the Cowboys, see, that was a real fist fight. That was a real NFC East, drag them out, everything's on the table type game. And I still think they would have lost the game with Jalen Hurts playing last week as well, too, Jeff. It's just like it was kind of inevitable that they would lose to the Cowboys because the Cowboys have really had the Eagles number the last 5 years. Let's keep it real. You know what I mean? They've really been able to handle the Eagles. And when the Eagles beat them earlier this year, that was huge for the Eagles, but they could have lost that game and say Dak was in the game. You know what I mean? They were going against Cooper Rush. And now you just know that round 3 is going to happen. It's inevitable of happening. You know what I mean? It's going to happen because Cowboys rolling in there as the 5 seed. And most likely what occurs is that we have the 2 top seeds in Minnesota. Minnesota probably is a seed, though, that you look at and say they might lose. You know what I mean? They may lose their first game. Now, the third, which is San Francisco, which will probably be the 2 when everything's all said and done, that they're probably going to have a walk in the park with their one. So that would cue those teams up against each other. But I would want the Eagles Cowboys in the NFC Championship game, Jeff, because that's the one that's the blockbuster game right there. That's the selling game right there. The heavyweight matchup. But all in all, the Saints I don't know what they're doing at the end of the year. I keep saying to myself that they possibly bring back Peyton. You know what I mean? I know because Peyton gets a fresh start. He gets to draft a quarterback this time around. You know what I mean? And do you think they trust Dennis Allen a little bit more moving forward? I don't know. I think they 50-50 on that, But I truly do think the Eagles right now, best team in football. And last week was a little bit of a hiccup, but they're not going to hiccup this week against the Saints. They win this game, Jeff, by a touchdown or better. But really, they win it by 10 or better.
Yeah, we bought the hook, took it to 7. This damn Saints team has just been a thorn in our side. I think this is the get well spot for Jalen. Get in there, put up your 28 points in the first half. Let the defense take over in the second half. Pick 6 by Andy Dalton. Income Taysom Hill, yada, yada, yada. I keep saying this week after week. I say it again. I cannot wait to hear what Jameis has to say after this season, why he wasn't playing turf toe Mike Thomas and the rest of they don't use Alvin Kamara anymore. It's a joke. It's almost a conspiracy. This is the ultra contrarian play. I think the Eagles win by double digits with their eyes closed. I'd be hammering the Eagles first half, -5, -6, whatever it is. I think they blow these guys off the map. But for our picks here, I am going 1,000% contrarian. Bought the hook, took the Saints plus the 7 pops.
All right. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the Panthers and the Bucks. Panthers and Bucks. This is a big game between 2 teams that have really lousy records, Jeff. 7-8 versus 6-9. You know what? 7-8 is not that bad this time of year. It really isn't now. You know what I mean? And with the extra week, 7 and 8 don't look too bad because now you don't have to have a split season anymore unless you tie in a game. You know what I mean? You don't have the 8 and 8 season anymore. It won't happen for you no more. So you have 7 and 8, you 6 and 9, and it's crazy because they're playing for the division here. This is for the division, Jeff. And we all know if the Panthers lose, they're out of everything. And if the Panthers win, they haven't necessarily clinched the spot yet, but they would be in the driver's seat to win the South this year. We know how the NFL works. They're not going to let the Panthers win the South this year. They need Tom Brady for the playoffs. So I don't want to be too long here. Panthers played a hell of a game last week. That was their best, most thoroughest win of the year. But it's funny because the Panthers haven't had a close win all season. When they win the game, they actually just blow you out. The game's not even close. And that's telling of a team that fired their head coach and had 3 different guys start at quarterback this year. That kind of shows you that this team might not be much now, but watch out for them next season when they add some more. You know what I mean? And I know that they're possibly looking at the interim coach to be the official head coach, but we know how that goes. They say that now, but they'll get to the interview process and they'll get wowed by some guy who's been coaching for 3 years. He'll probably take over as the coach. I don't know. Or some college coach that plays for a team that has no chance of winning a national championship, but he seems like a good leader of men. That was a horrible hire. Matt Rule had no business being an NFL coach at this point. I thought he was a great coach, but he wasn't NFL ready at this time. He was probably NFL ready about another 5 years down the road. He had to show what he could do in the state of Texas before, jumping into with the big boys. You feel me, Jeff? Mm-hmm. So, Panthers, Bucks, easy. Bucks, minus 160.
We got a little frisky on this one as well. We bought the hook, took the Panthers up to 3.5. Listen, Tom Brady looks like ass. Hey, who are you going to blame now? Mike Evans, Godwin. Listen, Godwin and to Brady's looked okay. The rookie White has looked good. This Bucks team is just awful. They got so lucky again to pull out another win. I think and I said a big if the Bucks win, it's going to be by a late second field goal. I like the direction the Panthers are going. They come in, their defense is playing a lot better. Offensively, they can run the crap out of the ball. They got like a 3-headed monster now. We bought the hook, took them to 3.5. I'm going to get you an under-over right now, Pops. There it is right now of 39. So we're going to go 23. No, is it 39? We'll go 2017 Bucks and the Panthers cover by the hook.
All right. I like the way that sounds. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about a few more early games, and then we'll get into these late games here, Jeff. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange, and we will be right back to you.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, we're back, and let's go ahead and jump into our next game, and that's going to be a good one here. That's going to be the Jaguars at the Texans, Jeff. Texans got a big win last week that Jeff saw coming, but I didn't want to give him a chance. You know what I mean? Jeff saw some issues with that Tennessee team. He picked correctly. Even though, they've been a good covering team this season. Let's keep it real. They've been a good covering team this year. Nobody can say that they're not. That's my biggest thing about the Texans is that they're bad, but they're going to fight. And that's why I said that you guys can talk bad about Lovie Smith as much as you want to, but Lovie Smith impressive. I knew Lovie Smith wasn't going to have these guys just in there playing football. You know what I mean? And just getting blown out every week. Let's peep this. This team is 2-12-1 on the season, but for your pockets, they've been a good team this year. They're 7-7-1, Jeff. So, against the spread, the Texans have taken care of you 50% of the time this year. Unlike Jeff's Chiefs, who, decide when they want to show up and cover a game. They just like to win the game.
What about that guy? What's his name? Joe Burrow or something
Joe
like that?
Burrow, he's been taking care of his business as well too. Even though they didn't cover last week, did they? That was a push, if anything.
No. Well, if you got the 3.5, they covered, but it was.
Yeah, you're right. But there was a lot of people with the 4, with the 4.5, the 5. You know what I mean? All right, so. This one right here, Jaguars are probably in their toughest game of the season, and they are in a scenario that the Colts were in last year, and we remember what happened in that game. The Colts were primed to win to get to the playoffs. Everything was looking good. Nobody had them losing to the Jaguars. Jaguars absolutely annihilated them. And Jaguars, hottest team in football right now. They've won after going on a 5-game losing streak, Jeff. And things kind of bottoming out when they were in Europe against Denver, losing that game 21-17. There was a lot of, look in the mirror type stuff for this team. And what happened after that is that this team goes off and wins the next 5 out of 7, including their last 3 in a row. And the funny thing about it is their last 2 out of 3 of those wins, they absolutely destroyed their competition. They whooped up on Tennessee, who was playing really good football at that time. And then they literally just made the Jets they walked the dog with the Jets. You know what I mean? That's exactly what they did to them. And then they had an awesome win over the Dallas Cowboys. So this team might be a little drained going into this game. That sounds crazy, huh, Jeff? That they may be a little drained coming into this game. And this is a tough game to win because you have a Texas team that's already they're already a lock for the first pick in the draft. We both know this, Jeff. Nobody has as many, they've already solidified themselves as the team with the number 1 pick this year. So I truly do feel what happens here is that I want to say Texas should show up in this game, but I think that the Jaguars are feeling themselves so much right now that they're not going to come down in this spot. You know what I mean? They know that what they got to do. They got to win this week so they can go ahead and ensure that game with the Titans is for the title and that they would be winning the title. But right now they are the first place team in the AFC South. So crazy that both South divisions have teams with losing records on top, Jeff. The whole division's losing. So, and we didn't think much of either division this year coming in, and they played exactly to their part. So I do like the Jags with the -4 here.
I like the Jags. I like where they're going. I like everything about them. This Texan team has been real feisty of late. I smell trap here. I bought the hook, took the Texans plus the 4.5. Now, wouldn't be surprised if the Jags won by 1, 2, 3, or even 4. It's a 43.5. We'll go 23-20. And as we speak, Jaguars, Texans first half. Jaguars are -3, -120. So Vegas just opened that up as well at the Circa. Good afternoon to Mr. Benson, Mr. Metcalf. I like Lovie Smith. I've always liked Lovie Smith. And the team hasn't quit, even though some of the veterans, the Brandon Cooks of the world and stuff, don't want to play all the time. But you know what? If you needed a scapegoat, you got your scapegoat. You're going to get your number 1 pick. And now you're going to have to decide. You're going to go in and get one of those quarterbacks? Well, good luck. Or start on the defensive end. You had a J.J. Watt. You had, who was the kid, Pops, from USC that ended up on steroids that was always injured? You had Watt, you had Clowney, and you had the kid from USC.
One more time.
Who was the kid from USC they used to have with Clowney and with JJ on the defensive
Brian
side?
Cushing?
Yes.
Brian Cushing. Oh, crazy Brian.
Yeah. So my point is, if you want to go after Bryce Young, if you want to go after Stroud, you want to go again with Levi or whoever you want, what's the percentage it pops? Go get Willie Anderson. Start on the defensive end. But that's for another day and another show me and Pops will probably have in February or March. So Texans plus 4.5, Pops.
You know what? I like that. I truly do. I truly do like that, to be honest with you. I think that's a better deal for them, and it's worked out very well for this team when they went down that road. You know what I mean? You know, the last time they drafted a quarterback number one, we all know what happened with that situation.
Yes.
Even though David Carr wasn't a bad quarterback, it just was bad timing.
No, it was.
It was bad timing. It was bad timing. If you threw David Carr as the Raiders' backup for those 2 or 3 seasons up under Gannon, he could have been a possible Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And David Carr was a quarterback that needed time to develop. They didn't give him time to develop. He had to go right into the fire. You know what I mean? So it is what it is at the end of the day. He should get so much love in Houston as well, too. And I think he still does, to be honest with you. All right. So we got ourselves a break coming now. And when we come back, we're going to kind of speak. Well, no, we just came off of a break. I'm tripping. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into our next game. Browns 6-9, Commanders 7-1. Commanders coming into this game with the look of a team that is possibly falling apart, Jeff, because they're starting to get confused on how they want to run this thing. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. They worked themselves all the way back into the mix, which was incredible to watch. It really was, Jeff. They went 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, and that was incredible to watch. But the moment that they lost, the moment they got into that tie with the Giants, they really haven't been the same team. And I think that they got a little figured out at that point. And they're very limited on offense on the quarterback end. Even though I love Heineke, he's a great guy, great quarterback. He knows how to lead and kind of come in at the right time. But Heineke is not a guy that can take you to the promised land. And Carson Wentz came right in and literally damn near took his job back the other game. But I think didn't Heineke get hurt, or they just pulled him out? Did you get about that?
I'm not even sure.
Because we were watching the game and he was in, then he fumbled, then he was out. So your guy Terry McLaurin had a hell of a game last week. And Curtis Samuel's been balling as well, too, this year. And Dotson is the man. They're not talking about Dotson enough, but Dotson got 7 touchdowns, and Dotson was in there killing it last week. So this Commanders team is to me, kind of shaky right now. And they played so good, after starting off the season 1-4. They wound up going 6-1-2. They've lost 2 games since the bye. And sometimes when you go on a bye, Jeff, your season just won't be your season kind of gets shut down for a week. Then the rhythm kind of leaves you for a while. You know what I mean? And they have to get that rhythm back. And the Browns, to me, I think they want to finish this season strong. I think they want to at least get 7-8 wins on the year. You know what I mean? I don't think they've quit on the season yet, even though they lost. And I'm just hoping they didn't quit on the season because Amari Cooper is one of my guys, on my fantasy team, and I think that I really truly do need him this week. Now, Jeff, would you start him or Cooks this week? Let's just keep it just before I give you my answer. Would you start Amari or Brandon Cooks this week?
Would I start Amari or I'll give you the exact answer tomorrow afternoon when I get my projections.
Okay, you got to text me that though.
Yeah, I will. I will. I mean, I would lean Cooper. I just don't like what I've seen enough with Brandon Cooks, where he could tap out at any second.
Yeah, because Brandon Cooks was a good 15 points auto for the first few weeks. And then
Yeah.
when he got into a situation with Levy Smith, it's been horrible. Yeah, he got 13.4 last week, but that's because he scored a touchdown. He only had 34 yards. So, but I truly do feel like Watson is going to play a good game because it doesn't matter if they go to the playoffs. He wants to keep getting better as we go, and he wants to keep getting a rhythm with this Browns team. And the Browns really don't play to lose at the end of the year. You know what I mean? They don't have a draft pick. They want to go into the once again, guys are playing for their football lives again. Okay. So I like the Browns with the plus 115 because I just feel like the Commanders are playing very careful football at this moment. And I don't know if they trust themselves as much as they did the last few weeks.
The line I had an overnight number of 1 and 40.5. Now it's 2 and 40.5. There are let me see here. Circa is at 2 right now. The number only could go one way. Once they opened it at 1, they were going to get Commander money on the hope that they're still alive. The Browns, again, I agree with you. I think Watson's going to, again, keep trying to make strides. I like them away from home. I think defensively they're playing fine. I think if Watson can win the turnover battle, I think if they can establish Chubb, I think they're going to be fine here. I like where your eyes are on the money line. We bought the hook. We took them up to 3. So hopefully we're both winners, Pops.
Yes, sir. Let's see how it goes, man. Let's see how it goes. All right, man. I just really wish the Browns, though, another team, if they don't lose to the Jets, their season is different, dude. Let's just keep it real, Jeff. Because if they don't lose to the Jets, they actually start the season 3-0. And I think this team starting the season 3-0 and not 2-1 would have been a good confidence boost, especially with having Brissett. You know what I mean? That would have been an awesome confidence boost moving forward. But once they lost to the Jets, they knew that they had a defense that they couldn't trust, and it's just and it just goes to the left. See, we can tell a lot of things early in the year sometimes, Jeff, and the Browns were one of them, and the Jets kind of fluked up on that win, but then they started believing in themselves. And that's what's so funny about Jets fans, how hard they go on Flacco. But I said, you guys don't even have a good season without Flacco winning that game, dog. Come on, man. Don't just throw away a Super Bowl quarterback like that. Mike White is all right. He's good. We're going to talk about that now. And I think Jets fans are a little, I don't know. I've never been that invested. I've never seen a fan base that invested in a guy that's won one game for him in a season. I said, you guys want to kick the guy out that won you guys at majority. He won 80% of your games for you. 90% when you think about it, Jeff. Zach's record is 5-3. Joe Flacco's record was what, 1-2? Right, Jeff? Mm-hmm. And then Mike White's record is 1-3 as well, too, or 1-2 as well. So I don't get it. But I saw Zach Wilson last week. He was terrible. He was awful. But that's because when your coach doesn't have confidence in you anymore, the team doesn't have confidence in you anymore. And he made good plays in the game, but I said it can't all be on him. The Jets just didn't look good, but I said that he's not taking advantage of one of the future stars of the NFL. That's Garrett Wilson. Let's keep it real. That guy is going to be an absolute stud in this league. And if you bring him a real quarterback, the Jets can be something special. They really can. You know what I mean? So that's why I know the Jets, in the back of their heads, they know what they're about to do. The Jets will probably go ahead and roll the dice and go get themselves Aaron Rodgers. I just got this feeling that they're going to go all in and try to bring well, they don't play in Queens anymore, but they still are the team that Queens loves. And so it's all for Queens. You see the Mets spending up all that money. The Jets going to spend some money too, Jeff. Watch. and make the same mistake they did when they brought in Brett Favre. The same, like, carbon copy mistake. But the Jets, though, I feel like the Jets will not win a game for the rest of the year. Bold. I know it's bold, Jeff, but this team lost their way. You know what I mean? The coach got too confused on who he wanted to be the starter. Then he put the guy in. The guy breaks his ribs. Then he has to put the guy in that he totally dismissed, 4 times this season. And once you lose one of your players, there's a legion of guys that mess with Zach Wilson. You know how NFL locker rooms work, Jeff. You know that. Because they're not talking to the media, but there's a group of guys there that's their guy, Zach Wilson. You know what I mean? And then there's a group of guys that say Mike White is my guy. And you can't have that on a team that's trying to get into the playoffs. That's a 3-12 problem. That's not a 7. That should not be a problem in week 17 as we're trying to get to the playoffs. The Jets had their opportunity to get to the playoffs. They blew it. It's that simple. I'm taking the Seahawks to win this game. The Seahawks actually do have a fine opportunity to get to the playoffs, and this comes down to coaching. Pete Carroll is going to outcoach Salah in this game.
An overnight number, Seattle -1.5 of the 44. It's flipped with the announcement White is starting now. The Jets -2 with a 41.5. There are some 42s out there. We bought the flip. We're going to take the Jets money line -140. Jets looking to ascend and get to 8-8, while Geno has kind of come back down to earth, and they will, if they lose, will fall to 7-9. Again, 12th man, Pete Carroll and Geno. This is the last chance to make a big stand here to keep their playoff lives alive. I like the Jets to come in, get out early, and hopefully Mike White is the answer. I don't know he is. I mean, he's a great white hope, no pun intended there. Last time I said that, I was talking about Jerry Cooney, and that didn't work too good against Larry Holmes, but that most of your listeners don't even know. Go Google that fight, will you? But anyways, we'll take the Jets money line, Pops.
Man, my listeners should know.
I was at the Cape Cod Coliseum with a couple, about 500 people watching it via satellite or whatever they called it back then. And I let it go 3 rounds. I think it was very disappointed. I thought that was going to be a great fight.
Man, Jerry Cooney. Yeah, he did. He did get pretty lit up that day.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it was. It did its job. It put butts in the seats. It got people excited. It's that simple. But
it lasted longer than Peter McNeely. How's that?
Yes, he did. And he lasted longer than a lot of other guys in heavyweight fights as well too, that we're seen as better fighters.
Yes.
So it happens. But all in all, though, this is Geno's sweet revenge on the Jets as well too. I'm telling you, that's exactly what they're selling in this game come Sunday, Jeff. Is that when he wins, it's going to be like Geno gets his revenge. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the Raiders and the 49ers. This used to be the Battle of the Bay. And you know what? The Battle of the Bay got a little destroyed when that fan got killed in the bathroom during that preseason game. So it hasn't been the same because they literally do not let the Raiders and 49ers play each other anymore in the preseason, which used to be an annual game somewhat every year for those two teams. Then the last time they did play, I think it was the Raiders' exit from leaving. I'm trying to remember who won the game because I know that the Raiders beat the 49ers the first year that they went to their new stadium that they play at now. They beat them there, and that was a big deal for the Raiders because they beat them in their stadium. And then now did they beat them the last time they played? I think San Francisco might have won that game. Was that the Mullins game? Yeah, that's the Mullins game right there, where the Raiders were supposed to win their final game in the Bay versus the Niners, and Mullins came in there and absolutely scorched them. So now you have the Raiders coming into this game 6-9, and you got a 49ers team 11-4. The 49ers, let's keep it real. They're playing the best football in football right now. They've won 6 games in a row, and they just haven't won those 6 games in a row. They've dominated those 6 games in a row. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a 49er fan, you do have the right to kind of brag a little bit, talk your little ish. You know how it goes, Jeff. And I said that this team has won 6 in a row. They've actually won 8 in a row since that point, because at one point in the year, this team was 3-4, Jeff. 3-4. And since that time, they haven't lost a game. Not one. And that's absolutely nuts right now. You know what I mean? And you don't get to do that in the NFL. But I'm looking at the schedule too, though, Jeff. They lost a game to Atlanta, who was a good team at that time. Atlanta was a good team at the time. Then they got smoked by Kansas City. That really turned them on because they got beat 2 weeks in a row by double digits. Okay. And the Niners hadn't dealt with that in a long, long time. And they've got a really bad, nasty taste in their mouth. But they lucked up because they were able to play the LA Rams, a team that they literally they poppy to the Rams right now. And the game was in LA. So they cooked the Rams, you know what I mean, easily. Twice this year. And that was the confidence boost this team needed. Then the next week, they had a good game against the Chargers. But I'm looking at the schedule. The only team in this group that was really a team that could have gave them some real issues here was Miami. Tampa Bay, we already know they're a bad team. And Seattle is kind of, we knew that they weren't on the same level, and we knew Washington was probably going to run into some issues in their game as well, too. But I'm just looking at the 7 they've won in a row since the bye. They haven't really played the best of the best, and that might not be good going into the playoffs, Jeff, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And I would say that the Raiders, the way that they lost last week, and this being the final home game of the season in Vegas, the Raiders are not going to play this game to just play it and just show up. I think that Adams, Carr, everybody's going to try to put on a show for the home crowd, and that's why I'm taking the Raiders with the +5.5.
It's funny. I was talking to one of my good friends and colleagues yesterday about the Niners, and he was saying the same thing. Well, look who they played. And I was really talking about Brock Purdy for the fact that, again, go back to the Niners. They started the year with Trey Lance. And then he gets hurt. They go to Jimmy G. And now they're the second or third favorite in the NFC, and they're progressing. They're still all banged up. They're getting healthier week to week. Jimmy G goes down, the season's over. Brock came in the middle of a game. They win the game. He had one more home game. They win the game. Then they go on the short week to Seattle. What they do? They win the game. What they do last week? They won the game. This is the one team that no one wants to face come the playoffs. I don't care who's behind the helm. Trey Lance, Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, Steve Young, Joe Montana. You can bring them all back. They got the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. They have shown their past playoff history. They can win on the road. They can win at home. And I can guarantee you this. Philly wants to get that number 1 seed so they don't play on the first weekend, and they can sit back and avoid this 49er team until the conference championship. So with that, I bought the hook. I took the Raiders plus the 6. I'm waiting for that hiccup from Brock Purdy. I really am. I think that the Raiders play hard. They try to get the win, but in the end, what do I got for an over-under here, Pops, for you? Where are we? 45. I'll go 24-21 San Fran Raiders cover.
34-31. San Fran covers. You know what, Jeff? All I ask for is Devontae Adams to have the best game of the season. That's it. That's all I ask for, because I'm just really so excited about my championship this weekend with fantasy. So I'm like, Devontae, bring it home for us one more time. He had 3.5 points last week. But every time Devontae did this to me a little bit earlier this year, he came back around the next week, got 25 for me. So I'm not worried about it, even though was thinking about maybe putting him on the bench for Cooks as well, too. You know what I mean? No, but I told myself, no. I said, let's just rock with who got us here. You know what I mean? Because Brandon Cooks was helpful in the beginning, but it's hard to take out Cooper. It's hard to take out Cooper. It's hard to take out St. Brown, and it's very hard to take out Adams. Those three are the whole reason why I'm where I'm at. And shout out to Team for having being such a spark on this big run that the Jaguars have had as well too, because that guy was very close to getting put on the waiver wire, like so close, Jeff, so close. And Jamal Williams was such a find as well too. I'll be honest with you, Jamal Williams was huge. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. We're not gonna take another break. We're just gonna go and play it through. We're going to move a little bit quicker, though. We got the Battle of LA now, Jeff. Battle of LA. Two teams that don't belong in LA, but they're here. You know what I mean? Because the more and more that LA has to deal with these guys, the more and more that we're just like, why did we accept any of this? Because the Chargers know where they need to be at. They have no business here. They need to be back in San Diego by 2030. And then the Rams, they just got a rich owner, man. And you know what? I'm going to keep it real with you. If I was Kroenke, I wouldn't. If McVay tries to leave me, I would embarrass him to the media. You're not leaving anything, buddy, because McVay will be the biggest coward ever if he leaves the Rams. It's like you went in there, you messed up. You went in there, you were a big spoiled brat. Then as soon as the house falls apart a little bit, you want to get out of it. No. You're gonna go back up in there. You're gonna clean it up, buddy. But he doesn't know how to clean it up because once again, he's a coach that did not coach for more than 5 years as an assistant. They just threw him in there as a head coach because he was the boy genius, the boy wonder, right, Jeff? So, there's a lot of things you need to learn how to manage before you become a head coach. And I think that he was just blessed to be able to have an owner that opened up the checkbook for him. It's that simple. And they sold a vision to LA, and they had to back up that vision in LA as well, too. Now they've won a championship. They don't care anymore. They got a beautiful stadium. They know that they're going to get 80% attendance there. Who cares? You know what I mean? And then you got the Chargers paying rent when they want to. So you know how it goes. But this game right here, we know who owns SoFi, and we know who the tenant is. And I'm going to go ahead and put the plus 6.5 on the owners of SoFi because the Chargers really aren't playing for much because they've already clinched their playoff spot, but they are playing for seeding as well, too. And I would think that the Chargers would want to be that 6th seed that plays against that plays the Bengals, but really they want to be that 5th seed. They got an opportunity to be the 5th seed at this point right now, too, but they need a lot of help from Baltimore losing. So I truly do think the Rams, who are the owners of SoFi, they will wind up being in this game because Baker Mayfield has became a very good little story for that team as well. And this could be another big moment for him as well, too. And it seems like he's played very well at SoFi. So I do like the way that this one sets up. And Baker's just been incredible at SoFi when you think about it. He had a pretty big game against the Chargers when he played for the Browns there. So, coming off this big game last week against Denver, the way that they did it, I think that this works out literally the same way. I don't know if they win, but they do keep it close.
I bought the hook. I get the Rams plus 7. Chargers win last night. They're in the playoffs. I haven't gone through the playoff scenarios. Do they need to keep winning to avoid a certain team, or are they locked into a spot so it doesn't matter? I have a 6 with a 41. There is some 6.5s out there at 40.5. We bought the hook. We got the Rams plus 7. Baker to the rescue. He's had, his defense helped him out a lot this past week. But listen, he's brought a spark. Don't know what's happening next year with, Stafford. Don't know what's happened with Aaron Donald. Don't know what's happening with Coach McVay. I do know this. Baker's fighting for a job. I think the Rams are going to have to take a look and say, hey, even if Stafford comes back, this is an ideal backup. If Stafford doesn't come back, then you bring someone else in and to compete with Baker. But we're going to grab the Rams plus the 7 pops.
All right. And he said he's coming back. He was on him and his wife's show. He said, I'm coming back. Stafford, but Stafford, I think that's I'm still laughing at the Rams because I still feel like Goff is so much better.
Goff's had a good year.
Right. And then when I compare it to stats for everybody too, he had better stats than him before the trade happened for the last 2 years. Stafford was more hurt than anything. And so I knew this was going to happen to the Rams. I just knew it was going to happen because he had a great first season because they had a line that kept him upright. And then when they had to pay people, they couldn't pay the right people. And then certain players went out and retired. It is what it is. And Aaron Donald was still a monster, but does he have the same passion that he did before he had a ring? You know what I mean? When you start talking about retirement right after you win the Super Bowl, you're pretty much telling us that you're not going to play as hard as you used to. You know what I mean? Because you're always thinking about retirement. So it is what it is. But this is a fun game right here. Packers, Vikings this week. You know what? I don't think the Vikings are too worried about seeding right now. You know what I mean? They know that they're either going to be the second or third seed at this moment. And the Packers are going to play this game like it's the Super Bowl. Let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? And we both know that Aaron Rodgers is pretty much solidified that his team's getting to the playoffs this year. And, this is the same team that lost us so much money in October and November. They just were constantly losing money. Now we've got to December. This team has turned it all the way up, 3 in a row. And Jeff, you caught it coming out the bye. You know what I mean? The schedule worked out correctly for this team at this point. That's why they're doing so good. The Packers. So the Packers need this one big time because then they go into Detroit next week if Detroit gets their win, and that becomes pretty much the game that I would say would be the game that gets you into the playoffs. But if Washington wins, all bets are off anyway. So what I'll do look at in this game, I see a Vikings team that's just going to try to stay warm here and not worry too much about winning this game because they've already established themselves as the champion of the division and they're already in the playoffs. This is just for seeding. I like the Packers with the minus 175. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, we bought the hook. We took it down to 2.5 minus the 120. Green Bay wins this game. They beat the Lions. Here's one of the two scenarios. Washington has to lose one of the last two, or the Giants have to lose both of the last two. And if Packers win out, they're in, as we know, as I stated before the show, as the show started. Can't get rid of Tom. Looks like we're not going to get rid of Aaron. It'd be interesting to see them, with a nice winning streak to go on the road. He's done it before, win all his games on the road to get to a Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. I don't think they got the team to do it this year, but we shall see. Bought the hook, took the Packers down to 2.5, under over a 48. This has probably got one of those 30-27s all day, Pops.
All right. Sounds good to me, brother. Man, and Jeff, you already know what's going to happen. The Packers, if they have to line it up with the 49ers, they're going home. Is that simple? They're going home. You know what I mean? Go home, Steve. Yep. That's what type of game that will be. Go home, Aaron. It's been bad. It's been bad with Aaron Rodgers and the 49ers, man. It's just they didn't draft you first. Then they kick your butt every single time y'all play in the playoffs. All right. So we have the Steelers and the Ravens, which has became the big game in the AFC North. You know what I mean? As I always like to say, 60 degrees of separation from Cleveland. Everybody has a relationship with the Browns somewhere in this division. And so Ravens looking to keep themselves in the mix. They're 10-5. Steelers, let's keep it real. The Steelers are a big long shot to get to the playoffs. Let's just keep it real because they have a lot of things working against them. They have 3 wins against the AFC, Jeff. So, literally, there's a lot of things that have to fall apart for them to get into the playoffs. But then we say that this is Mike Tomlin's time of the year in December is where he coaches his best football. And it's showing up right now because this team has been able to win the last 3 in a row going into into Sunday's game. Um, and I know that's why they had to ship that game out because they gave us a little bit too much Chargers over the last month, I think, as well, too, Jeff. On Sunday Night Football, it's been a lot of Chargers on that. So you have a team in the Steelers who, coming off of their bye, they were a 2-7 team. I mean, 2-16 coming off the bye. Since that point, they've won 5 out of their last 7 coming out of the bye. And it seems like they've been able to get the last 4 out of 5. And they beat, I wouldn't say they beat good teams, but they won games that they were supposed to win. And all these games were very close at the same time, too. So that's what makes the Steelers really dangerous in the spot. So you can take the Steelers to cover. Them winning, I don't know. But them covering, that's going to happen.
I agree. We followed your lead. We bought another hook here. We got the Steelers +4 minus the 120. It's Tomlin time. The Ravens are already in at 10-5. Watching these guys is like watching paint dry. They just, three downs in a cloud of dust. Get Tucker in the field goal range and hope that he kicks a field goal or two. I like the Steelers here. I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers won the game outright to get them to 8-8. Ravens, it's not the same Ravens team. Yeah, they're 10-5. Yeah, they're going to go play someone in the first round of the playoffs. Will they win? If they do, it'll be first 1-17. Their offense has been pathetic. I don't know what's going on with Lamar Jackson. I do know this, that he probably won't get a contract in the offseason. He'll probably get franchised. But till then, we'll take the Steelers +4 and see what happens.
All right. So let's get into our final game. And this is going to be the game of the week, man. This game is huge because this is a possible divisional matchup as well, too, Jeff. But I think the Bills actually went out and are the 1 seed at the end of the day. But this game will put them in the driver's seat for who's going to be the 1 seed at this point because the winner takes the 1 seed, I think. Right, Jeff? At the end of the day, it just depends on how you finish though this year. But the Bengals would have they would have the advantage over both because they beat both.
And Bills have the advantage over Kansas City. So again, we know these 3 teams are the 3 horses in the AFC. Bills and Kansas City can win anywhere. Bengals can win anywhere. I'll just keep saying the cherry on top. The Bills, if they're going to finally get to the Super Bowl, need to be hosting it. I think the Bengals can go in and beat them. I think Kansas City can go in and beat them. I know the Bills can win on the road, don't get me wrong. But for them to make that next step, they need the home field. Vegas opened up them -2. I had 2 and a 49 pops down to 1.5 and a 49.
All right. Well, what I'm looking at right now is that I just, the Bills, I took them to win the Super Bowl this year. And so pretty much it's like I'm not a Bills fan, but that's who I've been really riding with the whole year, to be honest with you, is that the Bills. And I just think that the Bills, at the end of the day, are playing the best football in football. I know a lot of people probably don't see that the way I do, but I feel like this team, when they get down or they get into a situation, they figure out ways to win that game. If they need their defense to step it up, their defense is going to step it up. If they need Josh Allen to do something huge, he's going to do it. But we have 2 other teams that are exactly like that in the Bengals and the Chiefs. That's what just really separates these 3 teams from the rest of the whole league in general, is that they're very deep. And that's because both these teams were built up through the system. There's no big free agent that came and boosted the situation up. Well, let's take that back. Buffalo had Von Miller and Stephon Diggs. But still, I just truly do feel like Buffalo knows they need to win this game. And Buffalo needs to win this game simply because all that bad weather in Buffalo over the last week. And I think that would be a great gift to all their fans that are really going through it. And prayers to everybody in Buffalo right now that is dealing with the blizzard being out of their heat being out, all that stuff. Because I looked at houses that were just looked like they were a part of a winter wonderland nightmare in Buffalo. So, I hope you people are staying warm and everything out there. But I think that they get a big win for the people, Jeff. I'm taking them with the minus 120.
I mean, I'm always the guy that says trust and respect the opening number. Again, a Buffalo number of -2 that the public saw at 1, of course, is only going to go one way. Bengals now getting the money. Listen, Joe, as you know, excuse me, we were on the Bengals last year. Our August Super Bowl champs, our AFC champ was the Bills as well. I'm going to just take the Bengals plus the 100 on the money line. The difference between the Bengals and the Bills and the Chiefs is that the Bengals can move the sticks when they need to with Joe Mixon and Mr. P. Ryan. Now, the Bills can't get that consistency at the running game, and the Chiefs need to do some trickery, whether it's CEH, whether it's Pacheco, whether it's the rebirth of Mr. McKinnon. I love where the Bengals are going. And the fact is this, no one's talking about their defense, and they haven't given up more than 17 points in forever. And if they can do that again, they'll find a way to win. It will be a must-watch game. Give us the Bengals plus the 100 on the money line.
There it goes. Plus 100 on the money line. Best game of the week. And ABC even said they got to jump into the mix for this one as well, too, Jeff. So with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap this thing up. And, man, it's always a pleasure with you, Jeff. I know you gave me a little bit of extra time, and I know you got to run. So pretty much you guys already know it's the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson. You guys can find him at EC Sports Invest on the Twitter, and you guys can find me at PopDBIC as well too. And you guys already know you guys are the absolute best, and this is the NFL Bet Exchange, and we will be back for the final week of the season next week. So you guys make sure to tune in for that. And man, you guys are the absolute best, and there is no us without you. So you guys just keep tuning in, and you guys just keep watching. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll wrap it up for both of us because I know my man got to get on down the road and get to the next show. And you guys make sure to catch that programming as well, too. And the primetime angles will be on about 1:30, 2 o'clock today. So you guys be ready for that as well. So there it is. Once again, another great episode of the NFL Bet Exchange, and we are out of here.
Toodles.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show was produced by the Prime Wave Media Group.